Today's lesson is on noxious weeds. This is the first in the four-part series for the agronomy FFA and CDE competitions. Today we're going to look at four different noxious weeds: dodder, Johnson grass, yellow star thistle, and common St. John's wort. Let's get started. I think the most obvious place is to define what a noxious weed is. It's pretty simplistic. A plant that's considered harmful to plants or animals or the crops that they ingest or use. And so we get to kind of determine that. And in California anyway, there are two different kinds of noxious weed: restricted and prohibited. The prohibited ones are ones that obviously you can't have any of the seed in, and you really can't ship it or sell it anywhere. There are a few exceptions, but for the most part, prohibited, well, it means that they're prohibited from sales or transport. The other one is restricted, and like some counties in California, you don't have a particular problem with that weed and don't see it as much of a nemesis. Where there's others that say you only have so much percentage, or you can only ship so much, or you can't sell any. So for the most part, they would be restricted from movement and from sales. The first seed I want to talk about is dodder. It's a really insidious type of a plant. It's on the list. I believe it's the only parasitic plant. It doesn't produce any chlorophyll. It doesn't do any photosynthesis because it basically lives off other plants. And it's kind of a yellow or golden or orange colored plant. Well, if you want to, it is a plant. And what it does is it wraps itself around, kind of chokes it out, and essentially sucks the life right out of plants. At least here in Northern California, the two plants it actually invades most are clovers, in particular alfalfa, and also tomatoes. I've seen some fields that were just basically golden color with these kind of viney types of threads all in the crop. And if you can take a look at this upper right-hand picture, that's a more characteristic view. It's very kind of like, it looks kind of like a moonscape on it. So it's very rough, has a lot of static electricity in it, so it sticks to things, and it has it's round except it has a little bite in it. So, and they're kind of tan in color, which oddly enough look a lot like alfalfa seeds. And then here is two more. They're kind of that golden color. This is, I'm not sure exactly what seed that is, but these are two dodder plants. So let's take a look at what it looks like inside some common types of crops that we see in the agronomy. Here's just a pure sample of dodder, and when you look at it in really good light, sometimes it's kind of brownish, but you can definitely see how rough it appears in this picture. Here is some kind of clover. I'm not sure what that one is, but you can see all these dodders seed, and of course they're very rough and coarse. And now the other day, I was able to dig out some old samples, and I saw this in this alfalfa ladino sample. There was the dodder. Again, when you look at it under the magnifying glass, it's fairly easy to pick it up because it's a rough surface. Alfalfa is much larger, kind of bean-shaped or kidney-shaped, with ladino being about the same size as dodder. So it's hard to pick it out, maybe ladino clover, and it's hard to do it in alfalfa because it looks so much like it in terms of its color. But once you get light on it and you look really close, you can pick them out. And here's another one right down here. Underneath it is two dodder cells, two different colors too, by the way, which again makes it kind of difficult when you look at certain clovers because if you have a multicolor seed, it's difficult to do that. But again, look at the seed coat. It's rough, whereas most of the other clovers and alfalfas, they're kind of smooth. Now, the reason that dodder is a prohibited, a noxious weed is because of the fact that it spreads so quickly and it will choke out plants. And as it spreads out on the field, it drops thousands and thousands of seeds. So obviously for that point of view, because it spreads so rapidly and it has so many different seeds, we would not like to have that particular weed around. So that's why dodder is a noxious weed. Johnson grass moves primarily through human activities, and it kind of has moderate to medium kind of forage value. But the reason it's considered noxious is because under really severe drought conditions, what we're currently having here in California, or in a hard frost, it becomes extremely poisonous to livestock. And so it has some chemicals in it that aren't very good for livestock. And it spreads really, really rapidly because of the rhizomes in the underground portion of it. So rhizomes are basically modified stems, and they spread very, very quickly. And if you cultivate it, it just chops up those rhizomes and spread them out even more. Now, Johnson grass, again, is very difficult to find, especially if you find it in Piper Sudan or sweet Sudan grass. But if you look really close, there's two things that are really, really important for you to catch on to. If you look, this is called a racilla. The racilla right here, first of all, goes way past the half the length of the seed. But it also has a little knob on it. You'll see Sudan grass, it doesn't have that. So this little knob here at the top will definitely kind of give it away. And the fact they're a lot smaller. I've got this dime right here, and you can see how small they are. And this is in a bunch of sweet Sudan grass. The only reason I could pick it out is because it was so much of a different color. If it's in Piper Sudan, oh my word, I would never probably find it. But again, if you notice, the racillas usually are broken. And look how fat and plump that one is. And this is relatively thin or slender and skinny. And the racilla, again, has the knob on it. So that's why Johnson grass, that's how you can pick out Johnson grass seed, by those two things. The third thing, yellow star thistle. I kind of tease some of my students because I call it the California state flower, because it's everywhere here, at least in Northern California. And I think you can probably tell one of the reasons why it's a problem and it's considered noxious. It ruins pastures. It really likes dry sites, and of course during this drought it's spreading. And because of these spines in these burrs, they can cause a lot of mechanical damage in the mouths of the livestock, and that's why most cattlemen, sheepmen, and other livestock folks would like to see it go away. And so you don't get a whole lot of nutrition also in yellow star thistle, and of course they can get chewing disease and some other things that are a problem. So I've got here's one. This one is in some oats. And I kind of zoomed in on it because I wanted you to see this little hook at the end. It's usually gray or yellow, hence one of the reasons it's called yellow star thistle, but it's usually the flower, and it has tufts of hair. Sometimes you won't see those tufts of hair, and again, look for the little hook right there. A lot of thistles have that hook, but again, if it's yellow or beige or this kind of a light gray color, you're looking at yellow star. All right, number 4 on our hit list of noxious weeds today is common St. John's wort. Typically, you'll see it in pastures, especially in the northern part of California. Overexposure to common St. John's wort in animals and livestock, and even in humans for that matter, will cause hypersensitivity to being outside, and in particular the sunlight. If they're overly exposed to it, they begin to have lesions on certain parts of the body that oozes pus and some other things. Not a very pleasant thing to have. Common St. John's wort, that's why it's considered one of the noxious weeds of California. If you look on the upper left, you'll notice what the seeds look like. They're extremely tiny. If you look at the dime at the bottom, you can see it's very, very small. When they're just with the naked eye, they kind of look like mouse or rat turds. So you really want to look at it carefully. And if you see it, even with a hand lens, you can see the pattern that's on, kind of like a honeycomb pattern. Almost looks like small miniature pine cones. And then on this picture on the bottom right-hand side, here is some fescue that I was looking at the other day, and in it was common St. John's wort. And at first I thought it was rat feces, but then I got a hand lens and looked at it, and I noticed the capsule shape. That's what got me. So, that pretty much does it for my first part of a 4-part series in noxious weeds. I hope this helped you identify or what to look for as you evaluate samples. We'll see you at the next contest. Thanks.